Pro-life, what does it really mean? I have reflections on this, and I have a history with this too. Let's talk about it. Hey there, folks. It's Javier Blog 208 coming to you live. Time is currently 4:01 p.m. right now where I'm at. And I thought I'd just take the time today just to do a little bit of a lengthy, possibly short discussion on this. But I'm going to be talking about today a sensitive topic, very sensitive topic that's kind of very touchy and hard to talk about. And I want to do this in the best way possible without like preaching to you guys and all that stuff, because I don't like to do that. I don't want to do that. But we're going to be talking about pro-life, and we're going to be talking about the topic of abortion. And we're going to be talking about just in general what pro-life really means. I also want to be giving you guys, some examples of my history on this issue, because I go a long way back on this issue. I'm dead serious, I do. I was an anti-abortion activist at one point, and honestly, I dare say, it's like at the end of the day, I still personally today, I personally today still agree with the message in the sense that I believe today that still abortion is still murder of a child. At the same time, I've also expressed this a lot. I've also expressed this, that I believe that the Republican Party are colossal hypocrites on this issue. And even though they got the fact right that abortion is wrong and the baby in the womb is still a baby, they're so hypocritical on so many other things. So many other things when it comes to like immigration, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to SNAP benefits and food stamps, and I can go down the line, paid family leave and childcare and child tax credits. So there's so many things they're hypocrites on, especially gun violence. And I believe that, today solidly, I believe that gun violence is the number one biggest form of hypocrisy within the Republican Party today. Nonetheless, I still do believe that abortion is a moral wrong, and I'm being honest here. I'm just being honest. So I guess if you're progressive, pro-choice, whatever, just hear what I have to say. I have a history of being an anti-abortion activist, an active one too. I was also an anti-gay marriage activist at the time, but no, this lasted longer. This actually lasted longer. Like, my views on gay marriage actually have changed, but I still, was out there protesting abortion, like at a certain time. Like, this actually went on to like 2017, possibly even into like 2018. I'm serious about that. And I remember I protested, I joined groups, I protested at Planned Parenthood, I protested at schools with other like pro-life groups, I've marched for life in the January anniversary of Roe v. Wade, March for Life rally, etc., etc., etc. I've done all that. I got a couple of pictures here from the past. This one came from 2014. Abortion is genocide. I was wearing that. Yeah, that was me. That really was me. Abortion is genocide. I had that shirt. And yeah, that was me at the time. And continuing on, just looking through some other stuff from my album. Let's use my profile picture here. To fund Planned Parenthood. I also had a photo on my profile picture in the past saying, God hates Planned Parenthood. Like, it was kind of like a WBC sign that was altered, if you will. So again, here's me, right here in the past. Tell Pisano, stop building baby killing businesses. This was me back in, I think this was December of 2015 or something like that. Yeah, it was December of 2015. Yeah, that's when it was. Stop building baby killing businesses. I guess more recently, I think this may have been one of the last ones, from 2016. Abortion, here I am right here. The final solution, comparing abortion to the Holocaust. Now, again, like I said, I'm still at a personal level pro-life. I still believe that abortion is wrong. I still believe that abortion is morally wrong. But I also believe something new. You know, I want to consider myself, and I'm trying and aiming to be this way. So I'm no longer a hypocrite on the issue like I used to be in the past. I strive and want to be pro-life, whole life. Pro-life, whole life. And also for this reason, you know, I am a vegetarian. I don't know. I have very much difficulty transitioning to veganism, but I am horrified, mortified, and disgusted. And I've said this for 10 plus years. I've said this for more than 10 plus years. I'm horrified, mortified, and no, we're talking 15 plus years. I became a vegetarian in 2008. Well, 2009, technically 2008 I stopped eating meat, 2009 I stopped eating fish. But I'm horrified at what goes on in animal slaughterhouses. Because animal slaughterhouses, you know, they're literally daily holocaust for animals. You know, we're watching cows getting skinned alive, pigs getting skinned alive, chickens screaming, turkeys screaming, you know, hang upside down by their feet, and they're boiled in hot oil. And I think the slaughterhouse business is evil. I'm standing by, even though the Bible says, yes, it's okay to eat meat, you know, and I know that Christians like to make that argument, and granted, I think they have that argument because God gave animals for food, if you will. But what the slaughterhouses, and I'm just going to touch on this briefly because this is not the point of the video, but just briefly touching on this, the slaughterhouse industry in America is evil. It's a multi-million or billion-dollar industry that murders millions, that murders animals every day, that slaughters baby chicks every day, that just kills animals every day. So I'm sticking to my vegetarian stance because I think this is wrong, because I think it's disgusting, it's repulsive. Even today, the idea of eating meat is gross to me. It's very gross to me. But also, you know, I also, you know, one of the reasons I go back to what I'm saying is, like, I believe 100% in universal health care. I believe in 100% in government, you know, benefits for people who need it, like SNAP benefits and food stamps and all that stuff, you know, paid family, government benefits and food stamps and all that stuff, you know. And I strongly believe that we must have gun reform in this country. And I also am well aware, that the party that opposes universal health care is the pro-lifer, is the Republican Party. The party that likes to cut SNAP and food stamp benefits and disability and Medicare and Medicaid is the Republican Party. I'm also aware that the party that is opposed to any kind of gun legislation or any kind of gun reform is the Republican Party. I'm also aware that, you know, it's the Democrats that fight for gun reform, that fight to protect social services for people that need it, that fight to protect food stamps, that fight to protect, you know, government benefits and SNAP benefits and things like that, that fight to protect Medicare and Medicaid. That this is what the Democrats fight for. This is what the Democrats defend. And in defending these, the Democrats are defending post-birth pro-life policies that the Republicans on a constant level oppose. And I recognize well this truth. And whenever that there is a mass shooting, up until Charlie Kirk, of course, until Charlie Kirk was murdered, whenever there is a mass shooting, it is the Democrats that are calling for gun safety legislations, that are calling for gun reform, that are calling to ban like AR-15s and assault rifles, that are calling for expanded background checks and psychological testing and all that stuff, that are calling for all these safety measures and that want to get action done. And it's the Republicans that lie, L-I-E, lie. When the Democrats are calling for these gun safety legislations, after all these mass shootings or school shootings that are happening, the Republicans lie and say, look at that. The Democrats want to take your guns away. Lie. And it's ridiculously sad. It's really sad. But that's the reality of the matter. So what I want to talk about today is that I want to the best of my ability, to any progressives or Democrats or liberals that are watching, this is kind of like a message for you, really. This is a message for you, is that I'm trying, or this is probably a message for both sides, honestly. A message for both sides, conservatives and liberals, just in general, that this is a message for both sides. I'm trying to bridge the gap, if you will. I'm trying to bridge the gap into coming into agreement of where we should stand on this. How can we bridge the gap? Conservatives and liberals, how can we bridge the gap? Oh, the Democrats are a bunch of baby killers and baby murderers. They sacrifice babies to the altar of, I don't even know. Stop it. Stop it. I'm going to explain to you conservatives what the Democrats do. They're not, well, I hope to God the majority of them aren't actually pro-abortion. I hope to God that. But, and I trust me, I'm saying this as somebody who has seen signs saying, I'm proud of my abortion, and I think those people are demonic. I think those people are demonic. That's my opinion. But I like to hope to God, and I believe that the majority of Democrats, the vast majority of Democrats, especially all the Catholic Hispanics and all that stuff, the vast, and the blacks, and even blacks who go to church, I like to believe that the vast majority of Democrats are not actually pro-abortion. They don't actually want to go and kill their babies. They don't actually want to go and kill their children. They don't actually want that. However, what they're supportive of, and I know this will piss conservatives off, I'm just speaking what it is. What they're doing is protecting the woman's right. They're protecting the woman's right. The right for every individual woman to make that decision for herself. That deeply personal decision. I'm feeling both sides here. I'm really trying to put my empathy and feel both sides of this fight, okay? I'm trying to bridge the gap and put my empathy into both sides of this fight. Oh, no. Okay, good. Oh, good. I'm still alive. I thought I accidentally hit the finish line. Good. So I'm trying to put my empathy into both sides of this fight. Okay? So I understand that the Democrats want to protect the rights of the woman to make that personal decision. I understand that the Democrats want to protect that right of the woman to make that deeply personal decision between their and their doctor, just like Roe v. Wade was settled to do that. At the same time, I also recognize that the conservatives are correct in the sense that the Democrats, while fighting for the woman to make her personal decision on what she wants to do with the unborn child, or her body, if you will, is forgetting the life of the child. Is forgetting that. You're forgetting the life of that unborn child. You're forgetting it. And that's just the facts and the reality of it. And at the same time, to conservatives, you need to change your views too. You need to change your Democrats in protecting the right of the woman. We can probably, we can protect the right of the woman at a legal standpoint. And I'm treading very carefully when I'm saying this. We can protect the right of the woman at a legal standpoint. But at the same time, At the same time, and I personally believe the child should be protected too. That's my personal belief. But at the same time, we have to recognize, or at least make sure that we have to recognize the implications, if you will. Whoever woman out there, for whatever reason, and I understand reasons vary, whoever woman out there who is making a decision to get an abortion must recognize that they're choosing between life and death. There's no way around that. There is no way around that unless you want to flat out dehumanize a child and say it's just not a human being. And then that's just a moral, mental justification that's just not true, in my opinion. And I say this respectfully. But at the same time, it's just like every woman who is making this decision for herself, who is making this deeply personal decision, must know, yes, I am choosing between life and death. I am choosing between life and death. I am choosing between, and I dare say the word, killing this child or bringing it into the world and maybe having it adopted, or maybe having it, adopted or something, fostered or whatever. And honestly, this goes to something the Mandami proposes. Yeah, here we are. We're going into the Mandami part of this discussion. Universal childcare. Universal childcare. Universal childcare was something it is probably one of the most pro-life post-born policies I've ever heard of. That's something that every pro-life activist, every anti-abortion pro-life activist like myself used to be, every anti-abortion pro-life activist should be advocating for universal childcare. Mandami wants that in New York City. Mandami wants that. We want to make sure every post-born child is taken care of. Government funded or not, I don't care if you call it socialism. I don't care. First of all, it's Christian. Second of all, it's pro-life. It's pro-life. It's Christian and pro-life to have universal child care. We want to make sure every post-born child is taken care of. This is something that pro-life activists should be celebrating, should be endorsing, should be wanting to happen everywhere. And I pray God that Mandami successfully implements this in New York City. I want him to succeed in this. I really do. Because I'm pro-life. Because I'm pro-life, I want universal child care to succeed in New York City. I want Mandami to succeed in that. Because this is taking care of post-born children. Maybe even survivors of abortion. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, let's not tread on that part. But post-born children, children born foster homes, children born orphans, children born in care where parents can't take care of them. I'll tell you one thing straight up. Universal child care will help parents choose life. Universal child care will encourage parents to choose life. And I think that is a really, really good point to say right here. Maybe not end on, because there might be a few more things I want to discuss, but Republicans need to admit, in order to bridge the gap, just say, Democrats, you need to admit that unborn child is still a child. Republicans, you need to admit you're wrong about a whole bunch of stuff. You do. And once we come together on this, we can probably start seeing true pro-life policies actually implemented. Universal health care is pro-life. Universal child care is definitely pro-life. Protecting SNAP benefits and food stamps and Medicare and Medicaid and disability services, that's pro-life too. Social Security is pro-life. Being a vegetarian is pro-life, even though that's not political. That's not political. It should be, but it's not. You know, gun legislation is pro-life. Sure, you can be pro-life, you know, before the womb, before the baby's born. And then do you care if you're going to still keep voting Republican and voting against all the other pro-life policies for post-born children? This is where the Republicans' hypocrisy comes in. This is where the Republicans' hypocrisy that I've been awakened to, that I've been exposed to, comes in. Everything that I said below, is pro-life. So if we really want to bridge the gap, as I'll say for the last time, we need to come together and admit that we were wrong on both sides. Democrats and Republicans, yes, both sides. I'm looking at both sides. Democrats need to admit they were wrong, that unborn child is a child. Republicans need to admit they were wrong, that gun safety legislation and universal child care and all this other stuff are pro-life policies, and in my opinion, Christian policies, that will help take care of the post-born children. And if we implement these policies, especially universal child care, and I've said this already, we are going to see the abortion rate drop dramatically because more parents are going to choose life, and this is the best way to encourage people to choose life. And that's my take. That's my take. I hope I said this as clearly and precisely as possible. That's my take on this. That's my stance on this. That's my beliefs on this. And by the way, abortion is such a powerful issue that it's the one reason that I still vote Republican at times. Not all the time. You know, my voting has gone mostly Democrat, but especially with how far right the Republican Party has gone. But, you know, like I said, in 2024, I voted for Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. Yes, no regrets, zero regrets. But I also voted Republican down ballot in the state of Florida, including Rick Scott, including, you know, mostly Republican legislators. And I voted for that amendment that protects that 6-week abortion ban in Florida. I voted for that. And I'm glad it passed because I do believe that child is still alive. That unborn child is still alive. But we both, like I said, and finally, we just both need to come together if we want to curb the amount of abortions in this country. And we both need to admit that we were wrong on all this stuff, you know, especially Republicans, but Democrats on the unborn child as well, you know. And this is probably the biggest reason why I'm an independent, honestly. Why I can't call myself a Democrat. Because of this issue. Because even though I agree with Democrats on so much, I can't call myself a Democrat because of this issue. It's time to admit that we were wrong and bridge the gap. And I hope I said this as well and as precisely and as gently as possible, with as much grace and compassion and love as possible. The love of Christ. Thank you guys for watching. This is Javier here, tuning out.